blink, I'll cut your eyelids off. Don't you blink.
I got you.
Let's go.
We haven't discussed it, but I think, I would assume as a group you understand that, we probably aren't supposed to be here. We're probably not a very good football team. Out of 14 teams I think are in, we're probably number 14. We're a double-digit underdog in the playoffs. So let's just go play and have fun and see what happens.
And there you have it. That was quarterback Ben Roethlisberger right there. And the very first footage video you heard was the Steelers celebrating in the locker room shortly after beating the Baltimore Ravens. Of course, at that point in time, the Steelers got word the Colts have lost to the Jaguars, and we're just awaiting the result of the Raiders hosting the Chargers on Sunday Night Football. As long as that game did not end in a tie, they were going to the playoffs. Ends up happening. Steelers in their franchise history officially are now 5 for 10 when entering the final week of the season, needing to win and plus getting help from other teams to lose or possibly a tie. But in this case, last Sunday night, as Chris Collinsworth kept beating the drum, as a lot of people were annoyed, as yours truly was. But here they are, Steeler Nation, we're still here. They're still there. They're in the postseason, and right now getting ready to hopefully make one last run, not only for Ben Roethlisberger, who more likely is set to retire at the conclusion of this outcome, and then also a guy like Mike Tomlin right now, who's looking to win his second Super Bowl, if they could somehow get this thing up, muster this thing out. And you also got a guy like Cam Hayward right now, who's actually in his 11th season right now, defensive tackle. And congratulations to him and T.J. Watt getting the 2022 All-Pro honors yesterday. This marks the third time that Cam Hayward gets in his career. He got in 2017, 2019, and of course, now 2021. And here you go right now as they're all ready to go for this playoff run, like I said. So, like I said, for the Steelers, of course, you got edge rusher T.J. Watt, who's T.J. Watt, and then, of course, last but not least, on the interior lineman is Cam Hayward. Those are the only two representatives making it for right now. So some nice icing on the cake, I guess you could say, as we get ready to warm up for another playoff run going into this one right now. Not going to be an easy one. Steelers are looking to avenge an embarrassing 36-10 loss at the hands of the Chiefs. It happened 3 weeks ago, day after Christmas. As remember the tail of the tape in that game right there, Steelers, who really got handled in all facets of this game, they have 130 yards on the ground rushing in that contest. I mean, and not so much damage on the passing, but I think just one of the biggest things I remember looking at this game right now was the speed that the Kansas City Chiefs had. They ran down the Steelers' throats right there. I mean, they were just going all at it at all times right there. And you saw that Mahomes, he finished the day for 258 yards, passes, 3 touchdowns, not turn the ball over right there. And he only got sacked 2 times in this game. And when you look at it right here, all the stuff that they did, I mean, of course, one guy who's going to be out going into this game for the Chiefs, as far as we know, he is ruled out of this game as we look at it. He is the starting running back. He has been out due to a shoulder injury. He has definitely been having a little bit of a struggling season, to say the least, right now. Only 517 yards on the ground, starting 10 out of his 10 games that he played this year. I mean, he's still averaging a pretty solid average, 4.3 yards per attempt, and also caught 129 yards receiving. So that's good news. They will not have to worry about him. However, like I said, with the Steelers going in this game right now, when you look at, the main culprits in this game who really got to the Steelers in this game, I mean, you look at it. I mean, the two-headed running attack of Darrell Williams and Derek Orr right here. I mean, both who had collectively had about 98 yards on the ground right there. I mean, Edwards-Helaire, who played briefly in this game, very minimal. He only had 9 rushing attempts for 27 yards in that contest. And you take a look at it right there. I mean, he only had for that game 21 snaps. While you look at the other guys, like Darrell Williams, he had 29 in that game, and Gore, he had about 19. But still, I mean, Steelers right there, they went to 7-7-1 right there. And it was clearly bleak right there, too. I mean, for this team going forward. I mean, Mike Tomlin was probably looking at a reality of probably having his first losing season. And not only that, too, I mean, just the fact that they had to win out to even get to this point, along with having some help. I mean, right now, I mean, we'll see where it goes from here. There's some people around the league who are probably expecting maybe a possible run of what they had in 2005. I'm not sure about 2005. But, I mean, the one thing is, too, remember, I mean, they had to control a lot of stuff and their own destiny at that point in time. I mean, it was a team right there who came together, I mean, who had a nice 4-game winning streak, I mean, in that year. And you look at the Steelers right now this year, who, by the way, I mean, on the road, I mean, collectively, I mean, going in this contest right here, I mean, on the road this year, they've been 3-5 versus, like, say, a Pittsburgh Steelers team back in 2005 who caught fire at the right time after losing to the Bengals in the very first game of December, which was at Heinz Field. I mean, you look at that team right there. I mean, for the most part, I mean, they were 5-3. So you flip that the other way around, and they had some pretty solid momentum. They played some good lockdown defense throughout most of that time. I mean, so there's a big difference. They had a lot more of a veteran presence team right there. You had guys like a James Ferrier, who was barely on that team for what I think like since 2002, 2003 is when they got him. No, actually 2002. I mean, he was a very phenomenal, I mean, inside linebacker who made the transition from edge to playing inside, and definitely made his presence known, I mean, for the contribution. But you also look at the rest of the guys on that team. I mean, you look at like a Joey Porter right here. I mean, basically, and all that stuff right there for what they had to culminate, what they knew they had to do to be as a man. I mean, Power at that time right there. I mean, when he was, I mean, with his group, I mean, pretty much, you know, they're in the process where they had to call people out, and that's what it was. So there you have it. I mean, they actually did go on to Jerome Bettis' hometown of Detroit. I mean, win all 4 games on the road, and that was a different story. So let's see. I mean, all you ask for a guy like Ben Roethlisberger, who was expecting to retire, is to get one last crack at it in a postseason run. And here you are right there. I think when we look at last Sunday, that was football justice served to the Steelers right there. All the stuff that they went through. I mean, you look at this team, I mean, this year. I mean, just, I mean, and then you look at everything too. I mean, the point differential in here, minus 55. I mean, and also Cook and Joel point out to, of the 3 wildcard teams, 2 out of those 3, and which one of them lost, by the way, aside from the Steelers, the Vegas Raiders, as far as the AFC goes, are the only 2 teams with minus point differential. Steelers are minus 55, and the Raiders are minus 65. So I guess you could say the Raiders were a little bit more worse, but I mean, at the same time, they had a lot more offense to show for it. I mean, granted, they did score, I mean, what was it, 31 more points than the Steelers did. And, I mean, congratulations to the Cincinnati Bengals right there. They get their first playoff win in over 31 years right there. I mean, look at everything going on. I mean, right now, I mean, with their 3rd year, I mean, head coach right now, in that year, Zach Taylor right now. So, I mean, they're feeling pretty special right now. And they're waiting to see if they're going to be traveling to Buffalo or will it be Kansas City at this point in time for the most part. As we take a look at things right now, Steelers, if they win this game, they'll be definitely having their ticket punched to take on Tennessee right now. So that's the thing. So Bengals, once again, they're either going to be traveling to Kansas City to take on the Chiefs. I mean, if the Chiefs are able to win this game, they are the number 2 seed in this conference right now. So if it does end up shaking out that way, and like I said, the Bengals have already won, Raiders and Patriots are eliminated. So you would have the Chiefs at this point in time. They would be they'll be hosting the Bills. Excuse me, they'd be hosting the Bills, and then you'd be having the Titans hosting the Bengals. So again, the Bengals are looking to see if they'll be going to take on the Titans or the Chiefs from what it looks like. Excuse me if I'm rambling a little bit here, but anyway, we're just getting started here right now here on this edition of Show Blitz here of the Men of Steel podcast. Once again, you guys can follow me on Twitter at Men of Steel CGR and on Instagram at Men of Steel Nation. We're doing a live stream right now as it stands here. I mean, and looking to get things going for the most part. I mean, either way. So once again, if the Chiefs do happen to win this game tonight, they will be hosting the Buffalo Bills, and then the Bengals will go to Tennessee to take on the Titans. If the Steelers happen to win this game, they'll definitely be going on the road to take on the Titans, while the Bengals will travel to Buffalo to take on the Bills. That's where it stands. So anyway, going into this right now, the injury report, like I said, Juju Smith-Schuster, big news on yesterday as reported by Brooke Parr, and we heard since Thursday that he was able to start practicing. He injured his shoulder versus the Browns. I believe he also had bruised ribs as well in week 5, which was thought to be season ending. Well, anyway, he is expected to play tonight versus the Chiefs at 7:15 p.m. Central Time is 8:15 p.m. Eastern Time. To make room for Smith-Schuster, the Steelers, they have released punter Corliss Waitman right now. And Ben Roethlisberger, I mean, he's definitely pretty pumped up, as you could imagine right now. That's one of his guys. I mean, he loves to be throwing too, and he's even said that he had a pretty significant injury, as he told the DVE morning show on 102.5 WDVE on Friday morning. Ben goes on to say that the way Juju plays the game is physical. We all know it. We all love it. He could boost this offense, even if it's just a few plays, the energy, the encouragement he brings on the sideline. Anything like that to have whatever guys out there would be huge for us. And for right now, I mean, that's what you got to look at right there. And then you also have another teammate on here too, Deontay Johnson. I mean, who's been one of the Steelers', leading receivers, this year. Saying that, to me, he looked like he was ready, according to Johnson. He's got to ease himself back into things, but he looks smooth today. He brings that positive energy that he's always had, that he always brings, according to Johnson. You want to bring a guy like that who's all about football, all about his teammates, just doing everything for the team. And he's a people person, too. There's never a dull moment when he's around. So let's wait and see right now. For the most part, as we get this. So once again, Steelers win this game, they'll travel to take on the Titans. If the Kansas City Chiefs win this game, they will be hosting the Buffalo Bills, while the Tennessee Titans will host the Cincinnati Bengals right now. So that's where everything stands out right now. So Steelers win, they'll travel to the Titans. And then you would have the Bills hosting the Bengals that way. If it goes the other way around, Chiefs win, Chiefs will host the Bills. Chiefs will host the Bills, while the Titans will host the Bengals. So let's get into it right now. Some other stuff around here. Running back, Najee Harris. Now, I got to be honest with you. I mean, that was a huge red flag going into this. While they were struggling to win that game, which they ended up winning 16-13. The most craziest of circumstances, the Steelers had to do it. They had to do it in overtime. That game almost ended in a tie, too, right there. They won that game with a minute 56 remaining. I mean, and the largest lead in this game was a touchdown, which was by the Baltimore Ravens, Lamar Jackson. Now, I will say this, too. This game was definitely marked with some controversy right there, too. I mean, T.J. Watt, who pretty much clearly, and most of Steelers Nation fans' eyes, got robbed. I will say this, and from an emotional standpoint, I wanted to see him get the official sack record. If you were a guy that will put one more sack than what Michael Strahan set the record 20 years ago in 2002 during the 2001 season, it would have been 23 and a half as opposed to 22. And he would also pass Al Baker, too, of the Detroit Lions, who has the unofficial record. But since sacks begun recorded a stat for players since 1982, that's all we know for right now. But back to this. I just want to hear your comments real quick. Did TJ Watt get robbed in that game? I think so. I mean, in a way. I mean, from a personal standpoint, at the same time, let's say realistically, I can understand why at the end of the day, too, because the explanation was, I mean, when we saw the play right there, when the ball was being snapped, the ball was missnapped to him, first of all, and he had to lose 10 yards because of that. And by him diving on the ball, recovering it, then attempting to get up, and then TJ Watt did hit him, knock the ball loose. The only problem was why it wasn't award of the sack, but was award of the forced fumble instead, because it wasn't clear if this was a passing attempt. Now, you definitely, many people could argue, look and say that, well, you had receivers lined up, be ready to run routes. The only problem was, too, we weren't sure if it was a run or was this a run pass option, too, where he would have took the ball, and how do we know he would have tried to take it off, turning it into a running play? That was one of the biggest controversies right there. And honestly, at the end of the day, I could see why they did that. I did not like it at the end of the day. But for right now, I mean, listen, I mean, this guy right now should hopefully be Defensive Player of the Year. I mean, there was still many talk about this guy possibly being named league MVP for this time. I mean, right now, I think Aaron Rodgers pretty much got that sealed up, if you ask me. I think they will have won the division, and they will carry this team to the playoffs. I could definitely see why they will award this guy possibly league MVP for the first time since Lawrence Taylor in 1986. I mean, the last defense player to do it. And remember, this guy was an edge rusher, too, by the way. I mean, LT. I mean, he played off the edge. He did not have to do it from a defense standpoint. I mean, versus a guy like Alan Page, who I think was a defensive tackle. But anyway, yeah, he was an outside linebacker. And he's won this award, I mean, basically 3 times. And then you look at a guy like Alan Page, like I said, he was defensive tackle for the Purple Peoplers, Minnesota Vikings. But anyway, I mean, listen, it would have been nice, but the bottom line is they're in the playoffs right now, possibly league MVP for the first time. Here they are. I mean, they get their season to live on for right now. And let's see what kind of run they can make out of it. I mean, there's just definitely a team right now. Now, I will say this. The only pushback I will say, I mean, pretty much a lot of people are looking at if the Steelers team gets behind early, they are in trouble. I will say this. If they can just if they do fall behind this game and keep it no more than 10 points, and I realize this Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs offense, you don't want to screw around with, but they are going to be without their runner and Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I mean, basically for this game. But I mean, we've seen it many times. I mean, this season too. I mean, where they had, 10-point, comebacks. When we took a look at everything, I mean, basically, the way everything is shooken out. I mean, I mean, they won that game against the Buffalo Bills in Buffalo. It was 10-0. I mean, at the half going into that, that was the very first game of the season. And then you also, I mean, that was pretty much the only game they did that in. But I think they keep no more than 10 points, I think they'll be all right at this point. Because that's the only thing I will say. I mean, yeah, I mean, Ben Roethlisberger right now, I mean, he has to throw it down the middle of the field. He cannot be doing this West Coast dink and duck passes right now. I mean, for the most part, what this team is need to do, they got to keep their focus in. Mike Tomlin's got to find a way, I mean, to reel this team in and not lose sight of what they're trying to do here. But for this game right now, I mean, we'll see what happens right now. So, I mean, for the Steelers, listen, I mean, the Steelers and Chiefs, they are not up at one game apiece as far as in the playoffs. And surprisingly, all the games have been in Kansas City at Arrowhead. Losing to Joe Montana and the Kansas City Chiefs. Steelers had a 10-point lead on the Kansas City Chiefs in that game. Eventually would lose in overtime. Basically, that was result 27-24 right there. But, I mean, here's the good news, too. Last time they played the Chiefs, I will say this. Defensively, I feel a little bit more encouraged. I mean, yeah, they're still getting gashed in the running game. Not the last game of the season where they gave up about 79 yards, but think about this for a second. The last two games, they've only given up 27 points in total. 14 versus the Browns and 13 versus the Ravens. And granted, it's against AFC North opponents, against teams who also have their share of struggles. But, I mean, if you're a Steeler fan and you want to have any encouragement, I mean, these last two games, I mean, that's a good way you got to wind things down. When you need to get on a streak, you need to get on the run, you need to have some help. I mean, that has been pretty decent for the most part. Now, again, I mean, they only had that one splurge, I mean, this year. I mean, outside of that winning streak was against the Cleveland Browns, which was on Monday Night Football. Not really much of a surge, but thanks to large parts Najee Harris closing it out. They scored 26 in that game. But, I mean, you had encouraging sign right there how the offensive line was able to move with an attitude and run block for a guy like Najee Harris, who put up 108 yards on the ground. I mean, for that game, and had a touchdown in that game. So we'll see what happens here. I mean, this is the only I'm thinking about going into this game, but let's see. Rossberger right now, too, going into this game, he has a chance right now to pass up Hall of Fame quarterback Joe Montana for fourth all-time in passing yards. Joe Montana has 5,772 passing yards. Well, you got a guy like Ben Roethlisberger. I mean, in the playoffs right now, he has got 5,757 yards. So he's 15 yards away from passing it. He'll pass him unless something catastrophic happens or he gets knocked out within the first few snaps of the game. But now he's got a chance to pass up Joe Montana, but he's got a chance to move in the third with Brett Favre. Brett Favre is through for 5,855 yards. He basically needs about 99 yards to pass him. So he'll be third behind Peyton Manning and Tom Brady. Right? So that's company right there, too. And you look at everything right now. I mean, as far as like game-winning drives, I mean, what Rossberger's been able to do. I mean, he's tied with Drew Brees in the regular season with 53. But then when you flip it, you look in the playoffs right now for his game-winning drives, he has got 3. So he's got a chance to get 4. I mean, to move into a tie with Bradshaw, Elway, Eli Manning, Wilson. And there you have it. Let's go ahead and get into keys to the game for this game right now. Key number 1 for this game is going to definitely be, I think, speed. I mean, if anything, I mean, you got guys like right now on the Kansas City Chiefs. When we look at this team right now, I mean, like I said, you got Clyde Edwards-Helaire. He is out. Tyreek Hill, now he's been a full participant dealing with a heel injury, so you might be able to slow this guy down a little bit right now. But if they can find a way not to get torched on the run game, I'm going to go with speed right now. Speed, because they were just more quicker than the Steelers were on December 26th. I think they have to match that intensity. So that's going to be key number one. Key number two for those Steelers right now, the elephant in the room, Ben Roethlisberger. Ben Roethlisberger, he's going to have to. I mean, if they get the ball on their first possession, he's got to find a way to mix it up. I mean, with Matt Canada, Mike Tomlin, but more particularly, you got to be patient too, and like just mix it up. Don't give up on the run too early, but at the same time too, when you got an opportunity to throw it deep when you can. I'm letting Ben Roethlisberger call the plays in this game. Not letting Matt Canada, but I'm just saying for right now, those are things you have to happen right there. He has got to air it out, open it up wisely. Which is going to bring me to key number three. Let's go on the Kansas City Chiefs defense right now. Tyrann Mathieu right now. Tyrann Mathieu, you got to believe this guy's coming gamed and ready for him. He was definitely a big spotlight in the playoffs last year. I mean, who really stood out here. I mean, you look at the damage he's able to continue to do right now. He leads his team with 3 interceptions for 56 yards, which also includes the one of 2 sixes here. The other one belongs to Daniel Sorensen, who's also a safety on this team right here. So you got to be watching out for him. So Ben Roethlisberger, he's got to keep his vision on the field right now. I mean, see what's happening, because L'Jarius Sneed right now too. I mean, he is also another guy right here who is in his second year. Could also do some damage here as far as on the defensive side. So I'll definitely be looking to pay attention to those guys right now. Also, too, key number 3, be patient with the pass rush. I mean, don't be showing too much blitz. Don't get too blitz happy. We'll try and balance it out right now. I mean, we look at the Steelers' side of it right now for this contest going into it. The Steelers, for the most part, I mean, like I said, they struggled in takeaways this year. But when you look at it, too, I mean, as the season continues to go down the stretch, you look at a guy like Ahkello Witherspoon right now. He has had 3 picks playing who has started 3 out of 9 games right now. I mean, look at this guy right here who's came over to the Steelers. A very nice sign, by the way. But for, I mean, this year, I mean, you look at like the interceptions he's been able to get. I mean, it's been dating back to that blowout loss to the Minnesota Vikings. He has had 3, 2 versus the Vikings and 1 versus the Browns right here. So, if anything, probably like play a balanced defense, help out guys like aside from Joe Hayden or James Pierre, but even Mika Fitzpatrick, they can find a way to just be patient and then play decent pass coverage and blitz when you got blitz. We'll find out. And anyway, that's going to do it for this edition here at Showblitz and Mass Steel Podcast. Once again, you guys can follow me on Twitter at MassSteelCGR and on Instagram, Mass Steel Nation. So I leave you. Don't be trolling, be rolling. Here we go, Steelers. Here we go. I gone.